Minister of Special Duties, George Akume, is urging the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate Governor Samuel Ortom over the alleged misapplication of the total federal allocations to the state from 2015 to date. Akume hinged the call on Ortom's constant criticism of President Muhammadu Buhari. At a press briefing in Abuja with Benue APC leaders, Akume is also seeking the declaration of a state of emergency in Benue State. He asked Ortom to stop attacking President Buhari and tender an unreserved apology while calling for the disbandment of the livestock guards in Benue State for their alleged involvement in nefarious and criminal activities.
I want to tender an unreserved apology to President Muhammadu Buhari for using foul language and for operating outside the set rules of engagement between the state and the federal government. We call on the anti-graft agencies to thoroughly investigate the application of the total federation allocations to Benue State from May 29, 2015 to date. We also demand true accountability for billions of naira released to the Benue State through the federation accounts. We invite the EFCC to step into the matter and help the Benue people in this evil extortion. Federal government should, as a matter of urgency, direct the disbandment of livestock guards in Benue State for their involvement in nefarious and criminal activities. So we call on Mr. President, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and the Chief Security Officer of Nigeria, to declare a state of emergency in Benue State to bring the security situation. We cannot tolerate such rude, irresponsible, and uncivilized acts from the leadership of our state. Hence, we condemn it totally.
Well, the Benue state government is not keeping quiet. In its reaction, it says it is shocked that George Akume, a former two-time Benue state governor, is calling for the declaration of a state of emergency in the state. Governor Samuel Ortom describes as laughable Akume's call for a probe of all federal allocations to his administration. Ortom urged the EFCC to probe Akume over an alleged missing 2 billion naira during Akume's tenure as Benue governor. The Benue state government says Akume is only trying to curry favor from the presidency and wondered why he did not hold a press conference in Benue State to test his popularity.
Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has dissolved the State Executive Council. Sule announced this after an expanded meeting of the executive, which includes commissioners, special advisors, and senior special assistants. The governor thanked the commissioners and the aides for their sacrifices and contributions to the success of his administration.
All right, we're joined now by Arise News Director of News, Sumner Sambo. Sumner, glad to have you join us. Let's start with the issue of George Akume, the former two-time governor of Benue State, who is alleging misapplication of funds on the part of the governor in 2015 and is asking the presidency to declare a state of emergency. How does that come across to you?
Well, a lot of Nigerians are actually surprised that this is coming from the minister, considering that just about 2 months ago in June, we had the two former governors of Benue State and the incumbent having a security meeting together with the Tortiv, where they looked at issues to see how they could help resolve the lingering crisis between cattle headers, and then of course also take a look at the Benue anti-grazing law, which is in place and has been the subject of controversy here and there. And one would wonder why Akume will actually come out to make this allegation without allowing the anti-graft agencies to actually be left to do their job. Because if he has evidence against the governor, then he should forward it. But here we also have the governor saying that Akume also has an allegation still pending against him before the EFCC, an allegation that 2 billion naira went missing at the outset of the administration of George Akume. And then the thing is that if you look at this too, it's a recurring issue, because even Governor George Akume that we're talking about was used to criticizing former President Olusegun Obasanjo while he was governor of the state, and former President Obasanjo was in power. So this is not new. I think it's a time for people to reduce the political rhetoric. They are also
in a place like
State. I mean, like for example, the governor is saying that Akume is trying to say this to curry political favor. Yes, I mean, a lot of feelers that we're getting is because he's trying to contest for the APC national chairmanship position, which may likely be zoned to the North Central. That's why he's coming out to actually make this kind of talk, and then he's also calling for a declaration of a state of emergency in Benue State. Now, even if a state of emergency is declared in Benue State, the president does not have the constitutional right to remove the governor. It's been tested over and over. We saw that happening under the Jonathan administration. I mean, if it had happened previously, erroneously, it can no longer happen after the interpretation of the courts.
But Akume says Ortom is simply losing control of security in the state, and he's also asked that the livestock guards should be disbanded. Can you really put the total blame of the state of security in Benue State at the doorstep of the governor, who, you know, well, on paper, he's the chief security officer of the state, but is it as good as the paper it's even written on? Well,
Ortom, as a governor, actually shares a lot of the blames too, because people have been saying that he's not focusing so much on infrastructure development and economic growth. Because if there's more economic growth in the state, it will help to reduce the youth restiveness that we have, create more opportunities for young people. And as a result of that, you would have heard his political opponents saying that it is the failure to create a conducive environment for economic growth in Benue State that's making him to actually hit back at President Muhammadu Buhari. Because if he has so much work to be doing, he wouldn't have enough time, you know, politicking, and then
the state of
hitting back.
Would not allow him to deliver on those.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the only governor who's facing insecurity across the country. Look at what other states are doing. There are some states who are tapping into the laws that they have, their state houses of assembly have put in place to actually create a conducive environment. There are some states that are also tapping into the federal initiatives. For example, Katsina State is tapping into the ranching model that President Buhari has said he would provide. Now, if Benue State is not going to tap into that, then what is the alternative? Create an alternative. But I think the livestock guard is not something that should be thrown out. I think George Akume was playing too much politics with that. That is a state law that has been created, passed by the State House of Assembly. It is only fair for all persons who are within the state to follow the state's law. Now, the threat against the people of Benue has always been that they should actually step down that law. The Mietu Allah group, cattle headers and all of that have been saying that that has not been favorable to them. But also the people of Benue are insisting that why would the presidency be insisting on, you know, retracing some of these grazing routes and all of that when their people have already said that they do not want these grazing laws of the whole northern region to be applicable to them. So there's a big challenge. There's a need for the rhetoric to be reduced.
Good.
And then the presidency itself should focus less on attacking the governors when the governors have an opinion on how the president operates.
You brought up that question of rhetoric. What do you sincerely make of the continuous rhetoric of the governor of Benue State against the pressing of the president himself, not even the presidency?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very wrong move, because there's a difference between the presidency and Muhammadu Buhari. Now, there are some certain things or decisions that are taken even by the Federal Executive Council, which is different from the president in person. So, as a governor, he should learn to understand when President Muhammadu Buhari as a person is taking certain actions, and when the Federal Executive Council is taking certain actions, and then when the presidency as an institution takes certain action. It is that anger that Governor Ortom is coming directly for the person or the personality of Muhammadu Buhari as a person that is making, you know, APC Benue leaders and even the George Akume to come up with this kind of thing. But it's a matter of two wrongs. Because George Akume could have used a wise way. What happened to the issue of gathering leaders of thought in Benue State? You have the Totif there, who is the #1 traditional ruler there. And then you have other sub-traditional rulers. I mean, Benue is well known for a whole lot of leaders of thought, not only in Benue, but the entire North Central region. Get people who will sit down together and then look for ways. We don't want inflammatory statements.
And in the neighboring Plateau State, of course, things are not at ease there. What do you make of this evacuation of students by some states like Kogi, Lagos, and the rest of them? And the what is brewing in Plateau State? For about 6 years, there was relative peace. Only for this.
The biggest challenge is that we are wondering why states are actually evacuating, students from the state, and then the Plateau State government doesn't offer a reason as to why that evacuation is happening. Because if the governor has created a conducive atmosphere for peace, he should have been telling his colleagues to stop the evacuation of students. But
he told one of them, he was thanking one of the governors for not following the of the rest
but
of
the thing is that other state governors should not be hasty in doing that. It's because there's a loss of confidence somewhere in the ability of the state to protect people who are there. That's why we're having this kind of challenge. So the onus is now on the Plateau State government to work with security agencies to ensure that every student that is in Plateau State is seen as a Nigerian who needs protection, not as someone from Lagos State, not as someone from Zamfara, not as someone from Oyo State. I mean, if we see these people as Nigerians, I can tell you that there is no reason why they should be evacuated back to their states of origin.
He's come out with,
and that's why you hear people talking about the use of state of residence very well. Because when you see people who are in a particular state as your residents, then the tendency is to protect them, protect everyone, whether they are residents or indigenous or not. So it's a good lesson for each and every one of us that if the governors do not know how to protect the citizens of the state, whether residents or indigenous, then it could put more challenges to other states. You can see all the monies we're pushing to using evacuating all the students.
All right, thank you so much. Sumner Sambo there.